Hi and welcome to the Arsenal Circle. Here to talk to you today, well, the England Circle. Here to talk to you today about the World Cup squad. It has been released at 2 p.m. today by Gareth Southgate. An absolute travesty is what I'm going to start with. But no, I did want to start by saying, whatever I say in this video, no disrespect to any of the players. Everyone he's called up are ballers. That's undeniable. However, well, I mean, it could be deniable. However, massive congratulations, but I just don't think a lot of these players deserve the call up. I'm going to be going into I'm going to be initially just looking at the squad, mentioning every player, what I think, do they deserve it, and then I'm just going to talk about maybe how we'd line up in our best 11, how the tactics would work. Not too much, not going into too much depth, but because I will have other videos talking about England, obviously, as Premier League is taking a break. I'm going to be doing a lot more England focus content. I'm also going to be doing a World Cup prediction whenever I feel like doing it in a couple of days' time, probably. And but yeah, I'll do that before the World Cup starts. But yeah, let's go straight into it. Let's first of all talk about Jordan Pickford. Of course, he's got to go. I think he's arguably England best number one, but he's been an integral part of the team so far in the last couple of World Cups. He has to go. Nick Pope also has to go. I think he has to go, to be honest. His form this season has been pretty good. And it's undeniable that that he is part of the reason why Newcastle are up there right now. What I will say about Pope is last time he was in an England shirt, he didn't look very convincing. But I don't think he's got any chance at minutes in this World Cup, to be honest, because the man that is going to be the second goalkeeper, in my opinion, is Aaron Ramsdale. So, yes, I would start Jordan Pickford, and I think it's just, again, it's for the reason that he's been there for longer. I did mention this in my World Cup squad video. But, he's been there for time. He's got the longevity. He knows what he's doing. And he always seems to be an incredible keeper when he's playing for England. And I just don't think that's deniable, really. I think Pickford has to start. I think Arsenal fans that are saying Aaron Ramsdale has to start, it's a bit stupid. I think it's too soon. It's good he's come to the World Cup. Maybe play a couple group stage games against Iran and USA and Wales. The group stage games is fine. We have a good group. But once we move into the knockouts, we have to be starting Pickford every game. And I think Pickford should be playing, at least 3/4 of the group stage games. Right. Moving on to defenders, we have Trent, who I think deserves the call up. I know he hasn't had the best season, but his attacking options, offensive options, going forward is, it's unmatched by any other defender, I would argue. Maybe Reece James, but he's not available. And he's just able to provide free kicks. He's able to provide amazing crossing. He's able to provide a right wing back role, if we decide to go 5 back. And he's able to move into midfield if need be. He's a very versatile player. He's very good going forward. And you can't deny it. You can say he can't defend. And no, he's not the best at defending. I mean, Martinelli made this guy look like a Sunday League player. But, I mean, that's just Martinelli. I'm joking. But, no. Trent has had a couple shockers defensively. But I think put that aside. And he might not even be starting, guys. Like, realistically. He still has to go if he's not starting. I think a lot of the reason people are saying he shouldn't go is because they don't think he'll start. But I think he still goes because he's one of our best defenders. And that's not defenders in defensive ability. Defenders is in the position. Right? And that's undeniable. Moving on to the first controversial one that I want to talk about is Conor Coady. I think it speaks for itself, really. Huge congratulations that he's got the call up. But, oh my God. Conor Coady, This man's playing at Everton, and I understand that they have one of the best defensive records of the season so far. But Conor Coady, as a footballer, he's gone down in a football club. He's had an okay season at best so far. Like, it's not been outstanding. It's a low team in the Premier League. It's a team that's fighting for survival, and he is getting picked over Fikayo Tomori, and I just don't understand that. And there's you know what it is as well. I wouldn't mind Conor Coady being in there if there was a Tomori in there, because I do think that Cody's not a bad player. He's not a bad player. He's had an okay season, and sorry, and I say okay, he's had a good season, but his season is not comparable to that of Tomori, who's just won the Serie A with Milan, and he was a big part of that win, right? And you watch Tomori on the ball. He's fast. He's able to play in a 3. He's able to play in a 2. He's great on the ball. He's great at passing the ball, and he's easily England's best centre half, in my opinion. I don't think that's a debate, and I think it's ludicrous that we're not taking Fikayo Tomori. It's really stupid, and I think if you actually watch the Serie A and you have a look at the games and you watch Tomori, he is so good for Milan. It's incredible the difference that he makes when he's on the pitch versus when he's off the pitch, right? Because, I mean, and I understand this is not really the comparison you can make, but I think a lot of people would have watched the Chelsea match. But as soon as Tomori was off the pitch, instantly Milan got dominated. It was over. And I understand that, yes, there is now 3 defenders, but I think if that was Kalulu instead, or if that was a midfielder instead, you wouldn't have noticed that much of a difference. That level of difference. Obviously, you would notice the difference. It's a red card, but Tomori is such a good player, guys, and we can't deny that. It's undeniable. Why is Connor Cody ahead of Tomori? Another player that I want to talk about that is ahead of Tomori, Eric Dyer. What is going on here? This guy has to be the most overrated player. I don't understand. I don't even think Spurs rate this guy. I don't think they do. I just think he's rated by fans because they see, oh, he's having a couple good games before the international tournaments. No, this guy is not a good football player. He's not. It's not up for debate. He's not a good football player. He's obviously, to get to a professional level, you have to be, one of the best in the sport. However, in terms of the England squad, he's not good enough. He's just not. That's life. Now, and again, Tomori has to be getting in over Eric Dyer, in my opinion. If I had to pick, one of the defenders, who's Tomori getting in on over? It is Eric Dyer. I don't think he's had a good enough season. He's had a couple good games before the Nations League and a couple good games before the World Cup. But overall, as a season, if you actually look at it and you actually watch this guy in a 5, he's one of their worst. And him and Emerson Royal are dead ballers. And they are the main reasons that defense gets breaking down. And yeah, it's as simple as that. Again, Harry Maguire, I would take Tomori over Maguire as well. But what I will say is, out of those 3, I think Maguire deserves it the most because, right, and I understand that he has been a bench warmer this season, and I understand that he has not had a good season, and a lot of people would disagree with this, and I understand you have to pick people off of form. However, Harry Maguire has that thing where he turns up at England, and I have a feeling he's going to turn up at this World Cup. I think he'll start. I think him and Stones will be our back 2, and or if we have a back 3, it'll be Dyer or Cody in there as well, or maybe Ben White, depending on whether Ben White's a right back or a centre back. But I will get into that, right? But Harry Maguire is always really good for England. I thought he was one of our best players at the Euros. He was so good, and we've seen he put in a man of the match performance recently when he did get the start. And I think I was in Europe for Man United. I can't remember who they played that he got the man of the match performance. Might not have been Europe, but we see these glimpses of excellence from Harry Maguire, and whilst for Man United he may not be the best player in the world, but for England he is up there. He is up there as a great defender. He plays really well for us, and I don't see why Harry Maguire can't go to the World Cup. I think, to drop him just because he's had a bad season so far, after what he's shown that he can do in the Euros and off of a recent performance, it's not the correct decision. So I think, Southgate's got it right on this one, because if you actually look at it, right, Tomori comes in over Eric Dyer. Who's coming in over Harry Maguire? I don't know, right? I wouldn't have Dyer or Cody over Maguire, in my opinion, but maybe I'm wrong with that one. I'm sure a lot of people will tell me I'm wrong. Moving on to Luke Shaw, it's an obvious option. It has to. Yeah, if I had a choice between him and Chilwell, I'm taking Chilwell. We don't have that choice. I'm taking Luke. We're taking Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw is our second best English left back, natural left back. I will say. I don't know if he'll start over Trippier, but you know he has to go. Same thing with John Stones. He's our second best centre back after Fikayo Tomori, and I know he hasn't had an amazing season, but you know he is a very, very convincing, solid centre back. He's able to a good passer of the ball, a rock at the back, and there's nothing. You know, you don't hear much of John Stones, and you know why? Because he doesn't make mistakes. You only hear about players when they make a lot of mistakes. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes, but he's also not like the best player on the pitch, right? So, yeah, John Stones has to go. I think he's just consistent and one of our better centre backs. Trippier, I hope we're bringing as a left back, but if we're bringing him as a right back, fair enough to him. But either way, I think he has to come into the World Cup. He's been phenomenal for Newcastle this season. Really, really good. Has been able to provide assists. I think he scored a free kick or two so far this season, which is another good thing to have, because if Trent's not starting and we have Trippier on the left, he'll be able to take the free kick instead. So, you know, I think Trippier is deserved. I don't really want to talk too much about it. Fair enough to him. Kyle Walker, again, is a similar situation. I don't think anyone's arguing with this one. Again, has just been really solid for City, consistent, doesn't really make mistakes. Similar to John Stones, one of our better defenders as well. And Ben White, I'm so proud of this man. He deserves it so much. You know, he's been... Thing is, I'm going to get a lot of backlash for this, but which English player has been better than Ben White this season? Really, I can't... I don't think I could name one, because if you look at this whole squad, maybe Bellingham, right? Bellingham is fair, I'd give you Bellingham, but most of these other players, you know, you could say Trippier, maybe Saka, you know, if you're pushing it, but Ben White has been incredible this season, and I don't think enough people are noticing it. Even though Arsenal are kind of forcing the agenda onto everyone. Look how good Ben White is. I don't think it's being recognised enough, because this guy has been arguably the best right back this season, and that's not a false thing to say. He's one of the reasons that we're top of the league, and he's one of the reasons that we finished so high up in the Europa League. He has been so good when he's played. I don't think he's put a foot wrong this season, really. You know, he's just been consistently solid. A really, really good player. Really good pass of the ball. Solid at getting forward. Has made the right back role his own. I hope that Ben White is there as a right back, and I hope he starts as a right back. But at the same time, he could be a centre back, and I think he could go to the right side of a centre back. And we do a 3-back or a 5-back or whatever, and you could see that 3 be Maguire, Stones, and Ben White, which I wouldn't mind if we had Kyle Walker on the right and Trippier on the left. That's who I would start, I think, if we're doing a 5. If we're doing a 4, I would like to see Ben White on the right, John Stones and Maguire in the middle, and Trippier on the left. And, you know, maybe that's controversial, but that's just my opinion. I do think Trippier deserves to be starting over Luke Shaw, and I do think if you're looking on performances alone, Ben White is our best right back. If you're looking at this season, and I know I said with Maguire he shows up for England, but Trent and Kyle Walker aren't particularly known as, you know, special players as soon as they move to England. I think they're just as good as they are in the Prem, right? Ben White, we haven't seen enough of him for England, so maybe we'll give him some games at right back in the group stage, and we can see how that goes, and if it goes well, he'll stay there. But that's just what I would do with the defenders. Let me know what you think about that. Moving on to the midfielders now, Jude Bellingham. What a player, robbed of Young Player of the Year alongside Saka. They were both robbed. I can't remember what the trophy's called. It had to be one of them, realistically. I don't think that's up for debate. But Jude Bellingham has just been a rock in the midfield for Borussia Dortmund, and he's been great as an 8. He can play as a 6, but what I've been really impressed with Jude Bellingham is his ability to go forward, even from an 8 role. And I know this is going to be a stupid comparison, but if you're an Arsenal fan, It's similar to the role that Xhaka has been playing. It's more of an 8, but he is able to go forward and provide those assists and those goals, and you see him do it quite a bit now. And seeing him in those advanced positions, a tall, physical, young player like that, it's really good, right? You don't get many players like Jude Bellingham, and I think he's one to watch because he will be up there for another 15 years, I think. And I'm sure this is one of 4 or 5 World Cups that he'll end up going to. Because, listen, he is that good, and he's just been great for Dortmund this season. I don't think you can argue with that. One that you can argue with is Conor. Southgate's lost the plot, right? Conor Gallagher is coming to the World Cup with us. Why? On what basis, please? I'd love to hear this. I don't know. I could not give you one solid reason why Gallagher is going to the World Cup over someone like Ward-Prowse. England fans have been calling for Ward-Prowse for ages. Why not? Why not? I'd love to see him there, right? Why is Ward-Prowse not in there over Gallagher? Can do the same thing, have the similar ability. Please, I would love someone. Just tell me one reason why Conor Gallagher deserves to be in the squad over Ward-Prowse, who, despite Southampton having a dead season, like not doing very well, he's been the shining light. Ward-Prowse, he has been the shining light for Southampton, and he has been for the past 5 seasons. What has he got to do? I mean, I tell you what he's got to do. He's got to move to a top 6 club. That's what he's got to do, because it seems that if you're not in a top 6 club, it's very, very difficult to get into this squad. You have to be one of the best at what you do, otherwise. And I don't know. I don't get that one. Moving on to Henderson, I think this is the correct decision. Some experience in the midfield, even if he's not going to start, which I don't think he will. I just think it's a good thing that he's there. Mount as well, able to give a 10 role, able to give an 8 role, able to give a right winger role. Just some versatility. I know Mount hasn't been on his best season. He has put in some good performances though, and has been one of the better players at Chelsea despite their lackluster season so far. So, I think that's a fair decision. I don't think we can argue with that one. And I don't think it's outrageous that Mount's going. Phillips, however, has been injured for the whole season. This is where I cannot believe it. Like, what? He's been injured the whole season. I think he's played 1 game for City. 1 game, and it was an average game. Why? Why? What did the geezer do? Like, he must be paying off. Like, this is where I'm convinced he's paying off Southgate, because there's no feasible reason that Calvin Phillips should be going to the World Cup again over a player like Ward-Prowse. Because I think, if I'm going to give you the example, it's Ward-Prowse. Ward-Prowse is the example. Or why not take Maddison as a midfielder and then bring in another attacker? We have plenty of defensive midfielders. We've got Rice and Henderson, and we have Bellingham, who is able to come back. I know that's not his strongest suit. And if we had brought up Prowse instead of Gallagher, we'd have him. So why not take Maddison over Phillips in the midfield, and then we can bring in another attacker, like a Sancho. Gives us some more options. Why is Phillips there? I don't know why he's there. He's not gonna sniff the field at all, bro. If there's a reserves, he's on that reserves. Doesn't make sense to me, and I just don't think it's the correct decision. Moving on to Declan Rice as well. One of our better midfielders, definitely deserves to go, and has been really good this season. Despite, again, a lot of these players are just overperforming in sides that aren't doing very well. Another example of that is Declan Rice and Maddison, who I'll get onto in a second. Declan Rice has just been a great player so far this season, and in the last seasons and before the Euros. And I don't think you can't take him, because the ability he provides as a DM is up there as one of the best in. Well, maybe not one of the best in the world, but it's one of the best in England, and that's why he's there. What lineup would I start? Well, in my opinion, I'd go Rice, Bellingham, and Maddison. Have like a 4-3-3, 1 DM, 1-8, 1-10. And that's why I don't think, and I know Maddison's been doing his work out on the right wing, but his best work out on the right wing. But I think he should be a midfielder, a 10, his natural position, and and that's the 3 midfielders I'd play. That's 3 midfielders I'd start. But if you're gonna go for 2, if you're gonna go 5-2-3 or whatever, if there's 2 midfielders, I'd probably go Bellingham and Rice. Yeah, I think my strongest 2 there is Bellingham and Rice. But again, it's not good enough, man. So, again, it's 2 picks in the defenders and it's 2 picks in the midfielders that are just too questionable, in my opinion. Why are they there? I don't know. Moving on to the forwards, Phil Foden. I'm going to try to go through these ones pretty quickly. Phil Foden deserves it. He's been great for City, and he has been great for the past couple of years. I know. Well, in my opinion, he's a little bit overrated, but he is still one of our better forwards, and he deserves a spot. That's not up for debate, in my opinion. Moving on to Grealish again. He's been good, but maybe I wouldn't bring him to the World Cup over a player like Sancho. And I know that Sancho's also not had a great season, but Sancho, I think, is just a better player. So you look at it, you've got a choice between 2 players who haven't had a great season, but one's a better player overall. I take that player, and that's why I take Sancho there. Again, I do think they had to fit some room for Sancho in the squad, but Grealish, I mean, he hasn't had a great season. That's undeniable. He hasn't had a great tenure at City at all. So it's a bit interesting why he's there. I mean, it's not an outrageous one, in my opinion. You can, if you wanted to put him there, I'm not going to be like, with players like Conor Gallagher. Oh, sorry. This just hurts my head. Kane, best English striker, no debate. Maddison. That's actually one I didn't mention when I said who's been one of the best English player when I was talking about Ben White. I forgot to talk about Maddison. He's obviously up there. He's had the best stats output for England, and I know that football isn't a stats game, and I hate it when people use stats, but you can't ignore someone like Maddison when he's putting out those numbers for a terrible Leicester team, and he's single-handedly turning around their form, getting them results. Again, he can take free kicks. I know he's got a lot of that in the English team, which is nice. But he's got the ability to do it all in a 10 or a winger role. And I really like Maddison as a pick. I'm so happy he got called up. Obviously, big congratulations for him. He's one of the players that actually deserved it. Rashford, he's actually been quite good this season, I think. And he gives us another option up front if we want to play him as a 9. And he gives us the option out wide. So I think he deserves to go. Saka, one of the best English players. One English player of the year last season. Arsenal star boy. Keeping one of the reasons we're first place. Can't deny it. He has to be in the squad. Raheem Sterling, despite him not having a great season, I think you have to take someone like Sterling because a lot of our attackers aren't having great seasons. And Sterling's ability to go anywhere on the wing, his ability to go central, and it's not like he has to start, remember, guys. That's unmatched, right? Apart from another player like Sancho, who can do the similar kind of thing to Sterling, who isn't there. And yeah, Sterling's just been great this season. Sterling has been great in previous seasons and great for England. He hasn't been great this season, but he has been great for England, and I think he was England's top goal scorer at the Euros, right? So it's hard not to take someone like Sterling, especially when he does turn up for England, and he's not having the worst season. I know he's not having a great season. And moving on to the last one, and this one, I can't really comprehend it. I mean, I understand Callum Wilson is having a great season in Newcastle, but it's only been, I think it's been 5 or 6, maybe 7 if you're pushing it, games where he's really had good performances. And I think if you look at someone like Tammy Abraham, who has been really good, he deserves to call up. Tony's been quite good. I think I'd have Tony over Wilson. I didn't even consider the fact that Wilson might go to the World Cup. It wasn't even in my head. And then all of a sudden, he's there. So, you know, that surprised me. But fair enough. Like, congratulations. He does deserve. You can't say he doesn't deserve it. But should he be there? If you look at the other options, I don't think so. I'd rather have Tammy Abraham or Ivan Toney, in my opinion. But that's just me, you know. I'm just glad it's not DCL. That's just my opinion. What front three would I start with? I'd have Kane, I'd have Saka on the right, and I would have Rashford on the left, I think. Or, yeah, bro, we do not have very good left wingers. I'm actually realising it to myself. Like, in terms of form, I have Sterling on the left. I think if he's playing his football, if he's playing good football for England, as he does, I think Sterling deserves that spot on the left wing. And then we have Sterling, Saka, and Kane up front, which is not a bad starting 11. It's just the squad in general is missing some key players that I wish did get called up. But yes, that would be the squad that I run with. So if we're going 5 back, Ben White, Maguire, Stones, Trippier, Cody, Walker. And then if we're going fullback, Ben White, Maguire, Stones, Trippier. And then midfield, if we're going 5 back, again, it's Bellingham, Rice. If we're going 4 back, we go Bellingham, Rice, Maddison. And then forwards, no matter what, I have Saka, Sterling, and Harry Kane. Let me know what starting 11 you would pick for England, and whether you go for a 5 or a 4 back. Let me know what you think about the squad in the comment section down below. I personally think it's a disgrace. It really has to be better. And to be honest, Southgate needs to sack for this alone. But, yeah, if you did enjoy the video, like and subscribe. I'm going to be doing a lot more England-based content and World Cup-based content in the upcoming weeks and months over the World Cup. But, yeah, if you did enjoy the video, like and subscribe. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.